Now, for this session, we have Dr. Chandrasekhar Bainipati with us, who is an assistant professor of economics at IIT Tirupati, my own colleague. He is going to speak on research writing, systematic review, and meta-analysis. Over to you, Dr. Chandra.
So thank you, Dr. Divedi. So good morning to everyone. So let me share the screen. So is it visible as well as audible?
Yeah. Audible and visible.
Okay. So I want to see that how many of them. Just 1 minute.
So this lecture will be focused on research writing. We have been listening to the speakers on academic writing. So I think on research writing, Dr. Chandrasekhar is the second speaker, and the first was Dr. Mani Nepal. So another very interesting lecture you are going to listening to on systematic review, which is going to be useful for all the participants, irrespective of your academic background.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start now.
So let us start. So today I'm going to teach you that how you can do a systematic review as well as the meta-analysis. Since most of you must have enrolled for PhD or might have joined master degree where you basically have to write thesis. So or writing papers. As you know that review is a part of the paper as well as identifying a research question also when you decided, okay, I'll do some research in any area, in any field, either in engineering, medicine, or in social science or the basic science. So wherever you want to do research, so first, the foremost that, okay, you have to do a literature search. Okay, suppose you choose an idea. Okay, then you have to search that, okay, what is the literature available? So what kind of things are already known to the people and what are the things are already unknown to the people, and let me enter in that unknown area. So basically to know that, okay, what are the things already known to the people. So basically we generally do the literature review. And some of you might have done, I guess all of you might have done the literature review to some extent to know that, okay, what is literature review, how you are doing the literature review. So could you please tell me, anyone of you have heard about the systematic review and meta-analysis? Actually, it mostly used in the, when earlier it was basically used in the clinical research, mostly in the medical research, both the systematic review and meta-analysis. But nowadays, in the recent, within last 10, 15 years, it's mostly the social science discipline, mostly the economics discipline has borrowed from the clinical research to do systematic review of many programs or policies or any issue. So they try to do a systematic review. Basically, it helps them to basically call it the evidence-based policy making, because you have evidence. Because a review will tell you, okay, what are the evidence available in this area. So how many of you have heard about the systematic review? Anyone? Anyone from social science? Anyone from medicine, as the engineering? Yeah, someone? Anyone? Anyone?
Yes, sir. I have heard.
Okay, do you have any idea?
Yeah, I do have some idea about this SLR. I think it is systematic literature review, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I think it is the preliminary stage of meta-analysis. If we go further, I think it will lead to meta-analysis.
Yeah, yeah, yes. So do you have any idea that did you do it anytime?
No, actually, I am writing a paper on that, on SLM. That is why.
Okay, so could you please tell me what the paper you are writing, what the issue basically you are writing? Maybe I'll see how I can relate to that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, please. Could you please?
Yeah.
Yeah, please tell me your about the paper so that I can relate to while giving the lecture. I can relate to your issue. I'll see how.
Yeah. Actually, 2-3 emerging areas are there in my mind. For example, like one I spoke about that human capital. Another one is about this digital signboard. So I thought being this one is the emerging area, so I thought SLM will work. So that way.
Okay, digital. So which field are you from?
Sir, I'm from management and commerce.
Okay, management and commerce. Okay. You have completed your PhD.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So apart from Sarma, Haridal Sarma, anyone else?
Sir, exactly what you want, please elaborate me.
Yeah.
Please elaborate me what you want exactly to know from us.
No, because I just want to know that whether you have done the systematic review earlier or meta-analysis earlier, or whether you
Sir,
have any idea about that systematic.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have chemistry background.
Hmm.
So in chemistry, we are just taking the different papers. Those are published. We are just referring these systematically from last 2 decades or 1 decades, uh, from currently stage to back 10 to 20 years back. What exactly happens in this field and what have to explore more, and what are the lacuna behind some problems. We are just studying it in neuroscience, in chemistry,
Okay, I
in my
understand
field.
that. But did you follow any methodology to select the papers? Or you
Sir,
just
no.
randomly select the papers?
So there is no exactly methods, because if you want to, suppose you are designing a drugs, that kind of drugs, how other peoples are following and they takes the methods, you are just following that methods and you may twist in some
No, I'm not
synthetic part.
asking that. I'm not asking that. See,
Yeah.
talking about some drugs. Okay, so you basically have to start doing the literature review. You basically
Yes.
have to select some 20, 30 or 40 or 50 papers. Okay, what are maybe available in your area. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But I'm asking you, there is a methodology behind it to select the 20, 30 or 40 papers. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's not like, okay, one way that, okay, you do a traditional review where basically you search in the Google Scholar or you search in the some journals or you search in the based on the bibliography, okay, of one article. Okay,
Yes,
the
sir.
different ways you search and you end up
Yes,
with getting a 20, 30 or 40 articles.
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes.
that's basically a random selection.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a, but in systematic review, there is a, because we're coming up with a 30, 40 or 50 articles. Okay,
Yeah.
so which
Yeah.
is based on a basically based on a methodology.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so the methodology is there. I'm not going by that. Okay, there is of course there is a methodology or the method in each paper about their analysis. Okay, that's the difference.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's the difference. But selecting the paper also there is a methodology.
Yes, sir. So method is that what kind of setup we can do in our laboratory, that is our methods.
Still you are not getting my point. Yeah, that I agree with you. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let me explain that to you. So apart from the Dilip Misra, so anyone else? So thank you both Haridal and Dilip Misra for speaking. So you can stop me at any point of the time. So if you have any doubt,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Carry on.
Okay. The first thing that when you are interested to do research, okay, the first thing that, okay, you want to design an effective research question. Okay, first to identify a research question. First, to suppose you choose any area, okay, either from chemistry or physics or from, since I'm from economics, I may end up with giving you lots of examples from economics. Okay, so first, so basically, suppose I want to do some research related to COVID-19. Suppose COVID-19 pandemic is going on. Okay, so because suppose I was thinking that, okay, how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected maybe the street vendors, okay, maybe some workers, or maybe the migrant laborers. Okay, I want to know that, okay, how the migrant laborers or the basically construction workers are affected by the COVID-19. Okay, I just want to know, but that's my I was just because when you start the research, you have idea, okay, I want to know, okay, the COVID-19 and the construction workers, but you don't know that, okay, how the construction workers are being affected by the COVID-19, and you don't have any idea, but you want to do a research that you have two words with you, that, okay, COVID-19 and the construction workers. So now the first question is that, yes, I want to design a very good research question. I want to identify the research question. So in order to identify the research question, you have to do a literature review or literature search. Okay, literature review you have to do. So why you are doing the literature review? Basically, you want to know what has been done. Okay, with respect to COVID-19 and construction workers, basically what has been done? What are the things as already established? Maybe in some fields, there is no literature. Okay, some fields there may be less literature. Okay, what has been done and what questions remain? Okay, are there contradictions in the literature? Okay, whether there are contradictions in the literature and what questions remain? Okay, basically, suppose I come from the field of social science. Suppose you look into some kind of policy kind of thing. Suppose you're thinking of going back to early 2000, suppose in 2005, 6 or 7, or maybe 2010. Suppose I'd like to do a research on MGNREGA. Basically, you might have heard about that Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act or Guarantee Scheme, or people are getting employment through MGNREGA. Suppose in 2010 it was implemented just 3-4 years or 5 years. Okay, and there may not be many studies within that because within that basket there may not be many studies available, because at present, as of now, there are many studies. But suppose you go back 10-15 years before, when basically the program was launched, so there may not be many studies. Okay, but so how you can design a better research question? Okay, please remember, in every research you may not have many research papers. Okay, may not have. Okay, so in that case also you have to rely on a similar kind of programs or policies, what has been done, okay, earlier. Okay, because earlier also we have a like Food for Work, some program was there, which is basically replaced with the MGNREGA. Okay, so basically you have to look at that, okay, in that program, what are the literature available, what are the problems people are facing. So I just want to point out here that in all the fields, and you may not have sufficient amount of literature. So basically the literature search basically we are doing. So why you are doing, basically you have to know that, okay, what has been done, okay, what is already there, and what questions remain. Okay, while we know that, okay, these are the things are already established, or these are things are already explored. So now the question is, okay, what questions have not been asked? And are the contradiction, are these literatures are contradiction in each other? Okay, so I was looking at, let me tell you an example that, okay, I was looking at the relationship between human death from natural disasters, basically floods in India. So how many people are basically dying from the floods, and also relationship with the income. Okay, suppose you have higher in, so I was thinking, okay, how these two variables, that income and the death from the flood, are related. Okay, so what I have done, I was looking at the literature is available across the world. So by doing that, so I identified, okay, there are very less literature or no literature in the case of India, but there are several literature across the world and taking the country-wise studies. But I identified, okay, what is the relationship? Some studies found that, okay, there is a inverted U shape, and some studies are telling that, okay, either U shape or inverted U shape, depending on these factors. There another kind of another strand of literature, they talk about no, there is no relationship between them. Okay, so basically, while looking at the relationship, causal relationship or the statistical causality between the different variables, so basically we look at that, okay, what are the relationships existing across the studies, or similarly to the other fields like physics, chemistry, or in the medicine. So you might look at, okay, with respect to this particular drugs, suppose you think of like whether the particular vaccine, suppose A and B, like Covishield and Covaxin, that's the two vaccines are particularly available in the case of India. So now someone will go and do that, okay, so which one is effective? Which one is effective? Whether the Covaxin is effective or the Covishield is effective. Now the question, okay, what are the literature available? First, just know, okay, what are the literature available? Okay, so suppose that he got the 10 literatures. Now he's looking at, okay, what is happening? What the 10 literature are telling? Whether they are basically supporting the Covishield or they're not supporting the Covaxin. Okay, why they're not supporting the Covaxin? What is the problem with the Covaxin? Similarly, some literature, okay, they're supporting Covaxin, not the Covishield. Okay, so because why it is happening? The people are not basically telling that, okay, the Covaxin is better or the Covishield is better. Okay, so that basically you have to identify what basically existing literature is there, what the contradictions between the literatures that basically guide you that, okay, you identify. Yeah, someone wants to ask question? Hilary Chandrasekhar. Okay, goals of a literature review. So why you want to do a literature review? Basically to generate and refine your research ideas. Okay, because you have an idea, like I have already told you that, okay, suppose you have an idea that, okay, I like to look into the relationship, okay, how the migrant workers or the construction workers are affected by the COVID-19. Okay, because you know that, okay, because of the COVID-19, might have read in the newspaper that, okay, because of the COVID-19, the construction workers are largely affected, because you just read in the newspaper. That's the idea you have. Because now you want to search the literature. Okay, so basically to identify, basically to generate the information that, okay, what is already existing and refine your research ideas, because you're refining. Okay, so how the construction workers are affected by the COVID-19. Okay, there could be places that, okay, where the builders or the developers or the contractors are taking care of the construction workers. Some places they're not taking care of the construction workers. They just left with nothing. They can survive their own self. So themselves. So therefore, you have to refine your research ideas and also to familiarity with the body of knowledge, and also development of the previous research, and you are just link the how the current project is linked to it. Okay, basically you have to know that, okay, what is already existing, so that you can position yourself that, okay, where am I? Okay, these are the things that are already existing, and these are the things that are already known to the people, and where should I fit? Okay, what kind of research question I should raise there, and where should I fit within that discipline or within that discourse. Okay, the last one is that to integrate, summarize what is known in your given area, basically areas of agreement where basically you agree, and areas of disagreement, and basically the key questions. What are the key questions on the studies are asking? See, there's two kinds of literature available with us. One is the popular literature. Okay, because as the Dr. Mani that is pointing out, while writing the manuscript or the paper, first you have to think, basically from the social science, I mean science also, because they also write some columns, some scientists also, even people from medicine also, they write columns in the newspaper also. Okay, so when you write about that, okay, types of literature is the popular literature, because you first you have to need to think of for whom you are writing. Okay, because I've seen it during the COVID-19 period, some of the doctors, they are also writing in the column about the basically generating the awareness about the COVID-19. Okay, because that when writing in the newspaper, magazine, if they write using lots of jargons, okay, lots of terminologies of the medicine, no one can understand. Okay, including me also, I can't understand. Because to understand that, I have to read another 10 papers. Okay, so when they write, so basically they have to know, because one kind of popular literature, that's a basically magazine or the newspaper, when you're writing, because you know that your targeted audience is the general layman, who may less likely that they have any idea about the medical terminology. That's a less likely. So therefore, you have to use a simple language so that they can understand without using any terminology, medical terminology. Maybe you can use that, but minimize the use of the medical terminology. The second thing that you are writing the scholarly literature. So basically the scholarly literature writing, you're writing for the journal papers, journal articles, book chapters, reports. So that basically your audience is different. Basically you're writing for the specialized audience. Those are experts in your field. Okay, those are experts in the field. I've just put some journal names from the economics field. Maybe you might have many in other disciplines also, you might have many journals basically. So therefore, we have two kinds of literature. One is the popular literature, another is the scholarly literature.
Sir, can I ask here one question?
Yes, sure.
Sir, in sir, Wikipedia is a knowledge source. So what we consider here in between popular or specific?
Popular. It is a popular.
Yes, sir.
It cannot be called as scholarly because it's not reviewed.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. The scholarly work, how to read critically. The thing that, okay, suppose you have decided that, okay, you will do some literature search or literature review. Okay, so first thing that, while reading a paper, see, that's the most important things you should understand and you should know. Okay, the reading the paper, you should read not like technically, just sake of reading. When you read a paper, just sake of reading, okay, I have to read this paper or I have to read 2 papers per day. I'll just read it. Okay, you will not be benefited. So basically the scholarly work should be read differently. Okay, you need to have a conversation with the paper. Okay, basically you should know what arguments the paper is making. Okay, what are the arguments the paper is making and why are they important? The first question you have to know that, okay, what is the research question and why this paper is important. Okay, why this paper has some novelty. Okay, why this paper is published. Okay, why are they important? Do you agree? You have to ask, basically, that's why I told you that you should have a conversation with that paper. Do you agree with the idea that author is putting, authors are putting? Okay, do you agree with that? Or you are not agreeing with that? So why you are agreeing? Suppose you agree, then okay, why I'm agreeing with that and why I'm not agreeing with that? Okay, so you have to put your idea, okay, why I'm agreeing and why I'm not agreeing. Okay, basically you need to understand, okay, what are the arguments, what are the basic arguments this paper is making. And the first and foremost thing, you should know that why this paper is published, or what is the reason that the editor or the reviewer has agreed to publish this paper. So you, in all the papers, you need to identify what is the novelty of that paper. So that basically guide you that when you write a paper, okay, when you write a paper, either it's empirical paper or a review paper, that basically tell you that, okay, how better way you can write a paper. So how to write a literature review? This is all about the general review. Remember that literature reviews are organized around ideas, not the sources. Please remember here, because sometimes I've seen some of the master degree students, even some of the PhD students, they're writing. When you see that, I've read lots of papers. I have been reviewing articles by now more than 40 or 50 journals. I'm the reviewer for the 40 or 50 journals. I've been reviewing every year. I'm reviewing around 50, 60 papers. So I have seen sometimes some students, mostly those are doing the PhD or master degree. So when they're doing a literature review, they write that, okay, the author X told the story. Then next paragraph, author Y. The next paragraph, author Z. And next paragraph, author A. Next paragraph, author B. Please remember, this is not the literature review. So how you can write this is not the literature review. This is just like a bibliographic summary. Summarize. Okay. Summarize the findings of these studies. Okay. So literature review basically organized around the ideas. What is the ideas you have? Suppose I'm looking at, okay, how the construction workers are being affected by the COVID-19. So suppose there are 20 papers already existing. So I can't write that, okay, author X has told that, okay, the construction workers in Mumbai city, they are being affected, they're not paid salary for 2 months or 3 months, or they don't have any work, or they migrated to their hometown. I'll write the stories. Then I'll come back in another paper in Surat city. Okay, author Z told that in Surat city they have the issues, these are the issues. Then I'll come back that way, another paper in Delhi. The author A told that, okay, these are the. So this is not the literature review. Okay, so first thing I'll start with the ideas. What is my ideas? Okay, so my idea is that, okay, how the construction workers are affected. Means whether the construction workers are being given employment during that period or they are being compensated. My idea is that whether they are being compensated during that period by the government. Okay, because government has brought some policy that, okay, all the contractors or the developers have to take care of the construction workers. Okay, that's basically the policy imposed by the government. So I have to know that, okay, whether the contractors or the developers have obeyed that policy, okay, have abided by that policy. So basically that's my issue here. So where I look at, okay, so what are the literature available? Okay, then I look at, okay, what is happening with Mumbai, what is happening with Surat or Delhi or Kolkata or the Visakhapatnam or in Indore or Ahmedabad. Okay, not like that X told, Y told, Z told. Okay, so to help you with this, so basically when you look at the papers, okay, how we can basically summarize them based on the ideas, not basically sources, not basically based on the references. So basically what you have to do first, identify the shared themes and ideas or issues. Okay, that the literature sources. Okay, basically when you read the literature, basically ideas, okay, what are the themes they have? What are the ideas they have? What are the issues they have? Which is basically common across the studies. Either an idea that seems to be missing. Okay, do you like the theoretical approach in the literature? And what are trends in the literature or current debate or the developments? So basically you have to identify, you have to answer these 4 questions, then only you can start doing the literature. So since I told you that, okay, the government has brought a policy during the COVID-19, like May 2020, that, okay, all the developers or contractors should take care of the laborers. Okay, should pay them some amount of money, then quoted some money that they should be paid them so that they'll not be left as hungry. Or maybe the government should identify them, provide them free ration, okay, provide them some amount of money. So that's basically government policy. Okay, so now given that, so now I was looking at within that framework, so I was looking at, okay, what are the literature available? Okay, what are the studies are available, both in the scholarly literature or the popular literature. That may not be scholarly literature because it's too early to expect that. There could be many studies which could have studied about the impact of COVID-19 on the construction workers. There could be possibility of popular literature published in the magazine, published in the news media. So I have to look at those literature. So I can't ignore that. So based on that, you have to develop an overall thesis statement that include a perspective on the material you have reviewed. Okay, these are the three things considered in the literature review. One thing that you should have introduction, and this should present the core idea. Okay, what is your core idea? What is your research question? Okay, what the argument you want to bring here? Okay, the thesis statement around which the argument will develop. Okay, so basically, what is your core idea or argument? Because for me, that argument was that, okay, yes, government has imposed a policy, government has drafted a policy, whether it is properly implemented. My idea is that, okay, whether all the developers, contractors are obeying or are abiding that policy which is basically imposed by the government. So that's basically my question. So now that is my core idea. Okay, how this is being implemented. So this suggests me that, okay, how I can organize all the literature into it. Then I'll come back to the body. Okay, this presents your summarization, synthesis, and argument with the existing literature. Then I look at, okay, how I can argue with the existing literature. Then I'll come to the conclusion, basically where I can conclude. Okay, so okay, then I start with that argument that, okay, whether the contractors and developers are abiding by the government policies. Then I see that, okay, what is happening with the different cities based on the literature. Then I'll come back that, okay, I'll basically, yes, the people or the contractors or the builders are following or obeying, or they're not obeying, or why they're not doing that, and what is the possible reasons. So that gives me some idea about the empirical one. Okay, so I'll come to the systematic review. So any doubts so far? Any doubt? Anyone?
No, sir. No.
No.
No, sir.
Okay, the systematic review. So there is a difference. So far, I have already told you about the literature review. Okay, that could be a traditional literature review, that could be a systematic literature review. But systematic review is slightly different than a traditional literature review. Earlier, it's mostly used in the medicine or the clinical research. But nowadays, all the disciplines, all the discourses are being followed. The systematic review, mostly in the economics also, we have been following the systematic review. And also basically, this tells us that, okay, evidence-based policy making. Okay, in the public policy program, or basically to teaching to the IAS officers or any bureaucrats, okay, when they design a policy or the government design a policy, so basically they have to generate some evidences. Okay, so how you can generate the evidences, that basically we are basically following a systematic review approach, basically to generate the evidences. That evidences basically guide the policymakers to design policies. Okay, a review. Okay, the systematic review aims to provide unbiased synthesis of many relevant studies in a single document. This looks like similar to the traditional review. Okay, basically it gives you, see, here is unbiased synthesis. Okay, remember, in traditional literature, we will not call it as unbiased synthesis, because in the traditional literature, we are basically randomly searching the articles. We are not systematically search the articles. When do a random search, suppose I was looking at whether the Covishield is better or the Covaxin is better. When I randomly search the articles, I may end up with the 10 papers or 20 papers which supports that yes, Covaxin is better, but it's biased. Okay, because suppose in traditional review, because I randomly search, I just put that, okay, put that two words that, okay, Covaxin and Covishield. I just got some 10 papers and I just downloaded. But that those 10 papers I got, those 10 papers are talking about that yes, Covaxin is better. But there are 20, 30, or 40 papers which basically talk about that yes, Covishield is also better. Because that's because during the traditional review, I missed those literatures and missed those studies. Okay, But the systematic review will not miss those studies because there's some methodology involved. Okay, therefore it's called as unbiased synthesis of many relevant studies in a single document. Okay, so a review that is conducted according to clearly stated scientific research methods and is designed to minimize bias and errors inherent to traditional and narrative reviews. Okay, it's basically designed to reduce or mitigate, okay, or minimize the biases and errors. The example I have given, okay, so basically occurred in case of traditional or narrative reviews. Okay, so in the why systematic review? Because it follows some protocol about the review. We have to do a detailed methodology because in a traditional review, you just search some few words and keywords in the Google Scholar or the Google, and you just download the article and start writing. But no, here before searching, before doing anything, you have a standard methodology. You follow some methodology or some methods to basically search up articles also. Okay, so some methodology you have to adapt. Then you have option like you can do a quantitative or qualitative analysis, or you can do a meta-analysis or meta-synthesis. Okay. So part of the procedure you have to do, basically you have a background. Okay, any research issue, okay, you have a background. So first, while knowing the background, so first you have to identify clearly stated research question and objective. You have to identify clearly what is your research question here. Okay, then by using the research question, you have to identify the keywords. Okay, by using a research question and looking at few research papers within that area, within that discourse, you have to identify few keywords and use those keywords, okay, to search the article in the search engine like Web of Science, Scopus, not in the Google Scholar, not in the Google. Please remember, in the systematic review, we are not searching in the Google Scholar and Google. We'll never search. Okay, we'll search in the search engine, that's a Web of Science or the Scopus. Okay, where basically the peer-reviewed papers are published. Then once we identify those articles, then basically we have a inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay, you may end up with thousands of articles, but you can't review the thousands of articles. You have to identify which of the articles are more important for you. So some inclusion and exclusion criteria has to be adopted. Okay, so there is a rigorous search. Okay, that I already explained the rigorous search for the selecting. During that inclusion and exclusion criteria, you will have a rigorous methodology or the methods or the rigorous points, basically that help you to identify the relevant studies. Okay, then you have basically critically going through the studies and basically extracting the data or the information from that selected studies, and your analysis will be based on that. Those studies, those are basically finally selected, and then you present the findings. So that's all about the systematic review. Okay, so how it is different than the traditional review? See, here you have a protocol. Okay, because some plan or some methods involved for the selection of articles. Here I'm not coming. See, please remember, it's not every paper will have its own methodology. Okay, own methods to basically do the empirical analysis. Okay, here I'm talking about the methods for selecting the articles. But when you do the traditional review, basically you search in the Google and getting some papers from the Google, just download it and select it. That's all. You just take those papers. But here, to choosing each paper, you have some methodology. Okay, the objective is very clear. Here, you have a clear objective identified as the research question. But in the traditional review, you may not have, may or may not have. And here you have inclusion and exclusion criteria, because you have some criteria basically that give you inclusion and exclusion criteria. But in case of traditional review, your criteria is not specified. Okay, you got some 100 papers. Out of 100 papers, you randomly select 50. Or randomly just going through one by one papers, and you just rate some 40, 50 or 60 papers. Then you say, okay, it's enough. I'll write a review paper. I'm not going to read next 40 papers. I don't know what they have written. Okay, but here it is not possible. You have to follow some methodology to select each of the articles. Then, okay, I have selected out of the 100, I have selected 10 papers. Okay, so that methodology involved that, okay, why you have selected 10 papers out of the 100. Okay, the search strategy, basically search strategy involves like language, date, keywords, synonymy, titles, or Boolean operators, basically and or. Strategy is not explicitly stated in case of traditional review. Okay, so what are the bias? Although the literature, systematic literature review, please remember meta-analysis is part of a systematic literature review. Okay, meta-analysis is the quantitative analysis, is basically we are doing. So it's part of the systematic literature review. So of course, there is a bias involved in the systematic literature review. Also, there's the English language bias. Okay, as you know that in the systematic literature review, we are basically depending on the papers published in the English literature. There could be some papers, okay, those are published in the local language. Maybe you can think of the Russia, you can think of the France, some science papers, okay, published in Russia, France, or in Germany, their local language. Okay, this may be a phenomenal work. But doing the systematic literature review, we are basically ignoring them or not included in the literature. Okay, suppose you decide, it's up to you. Okay, you have to make a decision. Suppose you have decided that, okay, I'll include those papers are published in English language. Okay, then second bias is the citation bias. Occurs when studies with significant or positive results are referenced in other publications. Okay, suppose some studies have some positive or significant results, those are basically keep on publishing and having the lots of citations. Sometimes some systematic literature review follow some citation as a criteria to include. They basically include some papers. Those papers are highly cited. Okay, maybe some papers are highly cited. Maybe other papers which are very good, but may not be cited because they have not found a significant result. Okay, so may not be, that could be the reason they are not cited. Okay, that's another bias. Then publication bias. So selective publication of articles that show a positive treatment of effects of statistical significance. Okay, so you suppose you select articles which basically show some kind of positive treatment of effects of statistical significance. That is also another publication bias. Any doubt? Otherwise, I'll come to some examples. Any doubt?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than English, if we want to refer, is there a method to translate that?
Translate that to English.
Yes, at least the key findings.
Yeah, that is happening. Okay, so I know some of the, when I was doing my PhD, I know one guy, my friend in IIT Madras. So he got some papers. So those are written in the French. Okay, so he used a guy who is having the knowledge about the French. So he basically translated that paper for him. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
If you can translate. So any other? Jyoti Bajpayee. Do you want to ask? Jyoti Bajpayee or anyone? No question. Then it's a boring for me. You should ask lots of questions. Yeah, Dilip. Ask. Do you have any question, Dilip? Oh, some chat also. Let me see the chat. Oh, there is no.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I wanted to know, in general literature review, what we do, we research the literature, then we find the research questions, then we frame our objective.
Yeah.
But here in systematic review, we should have a prior objective that we want to do this thing. Accordingly, we frame our methodology and find our literatures. Is it like this?
Yeah, see, the literature review you are basically doing to identify the objective research question or the objective for the empirical studies,
Okay.
to carry out the empirical work.
Yes, sir.
You are doing a literature review basically to identify a objective for the research question to carry out a empirical work.
Yes, sir.
But while doing the literature, traditional literature review, you basically use some keywords to basically search in the Google Scholar or Google.
Yes, sir.
But here what will happen, okay, here when you do the research or literature, you might have some issue in mind
Okay.
for the literature review, not for the empirical analysis. Okay,
Okay.
you might have some issue in mind. So basically you are focusing on that issue.
Okay.
Okay, suppose I can take the example of you. So you have in mind that okay, so you don't know what is happening, but okay, how people are discounting the future in case of use of the
Efficient appliance.
technology. Okay, how people are discounting the future. That's in your mind. Okay, okay, so that's your research question. Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, here that is a research question, and then you search. Then based on that, you basically identify few words and search. Start searching.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you do that. Okay, you find out okay, what are the discount rate happening across the world and what the research is there and how people identify discounting rate. Then you end up with okay, why people are following the exponential discounting rather than the hyperbolic discounting, which was not there in the earlier question. After
Yes,
the
sir.
end of the literature search, you are end up with okay, that a large number of people are following the exponential discounting rather than the hyperbolic discounting. Okay,
Yes.
so that basically you end up with that end. Any other question?
No, sir.
Yes,
No.
yes, sir. I'm Priyanka Gupta from Law Department.
Yeah, please.
Actually, I'm too much confused to take the review point because I'm a scholar, so I don't know what type of research methodology apply on that, and how can I review, how prepare the review paper. So please guide me, sir.
Yes, see, since I have told you how you can prepare a review paper,
Yes, sir. And what kind of the type of the methodology will be apply on this review paper? And so there is apply the literature review and systematic review. So so lack of knowledge about that. So please.
let's see, suppose in the law. So what is your research? You might have done some research. Tell me your research question or the research idea in the law.
Actually, sir, I am working in the cruelty in the society, the 498A. My research topic is 498A cruelty, the misuse of that section. So
I don't know that section. Please tell me what is the section, the 498.
yeah, sorry, sir. The cruelty related, the female cruelty, the physical and mental cruelty on on women. It's a weapon for women, but the women taking misuse for that against the men.
Okay.
So
So let us take as that okay, the physical and the mental harassment of women. Okay.
sorry, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Physical and
Yes.
mental harassment of women. Okay. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yes, sir.
So while doing the literature, basically you are looking at, so you are looking at, okay, there is some law existing. Okay. The law is existing which basically protect the women. Okay.
Okay.
So now the question is, you want to know that, okay, whether the people who are those guys are those people or those women are vulnerable or being affected by harassment, whether they come forward to take the advantage of the law.
Okay.
Okay, whether they are basically still suffering from that, they're not coming forward. Okay, whether there's some empowerment among the women so that they can come forward to know. That's basically because so you know that okay, there is a law. Okay, there is a law which can protect the women. Okay, which is already established law. Suppose they can go to the court of law, they can basically protect it. They can basically fight for their harassment. Okay, so why they're not coming? And the second thing that so there is a law established which can basically protect the women. The second thing that okay, most of the women you understand from the newspaper or reading the news mentions, okay, the newspaper is coming up that there's a large number of women that are being harassed, looking at the statistics, large number of rape cases are happening, a large number of domestic violence, the harassment is happening, physical and mental harassment is happening, but there is a less number of cases are being filed.
Right.
Number of protection are being happening. So why it is happening? Okay. So question is, okay, why? Why the women are not coming forward? Why they're not protecting when the right they have the right to protect themselves? So why they're not coming and taking the legal help? So that is a research question. So where you start, okay, this is the issue with me. Then basically you start, okay, now I search the articles. Okay, I search the papers. Those are already existing in the literature. So let me see what is happening across the India. Okay, what is happening? There could be literature in Madras, there could be literature in Kerala, there could be literature in Maharashtra. But then you see what is happening across the states. Okay, then we'll see that, okay, suppose in Maharashtra, or suppose in Chennai, some studies in Chennai, the woman is empowered. So why coming to the court and filing the cases? But some cases in the rural village, they're not coming forward. Some cases in the here, like Haryana, they're not coming forward. Okay.
Okay.
Why then you see that, okay, why the people are in Haryana, they're not coming forward? So they have something like Khap Panchayat, if I remember, in Haryana or somewhere else, Khap Panchayat. Okay, so whether the Khap Panchayat has an impact, whether the village, whether the villages, or the particular village structure of the village has some impact on it. Okay, so that basically you have to identify.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So let me, any other question?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, Bandana. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is regarding that English language bias, which you were talking about in terms of literature review. Sir, basically, I'm a student of English department, but my research area concerns the Sindhi language literature. Now, that is a different language and it's literature. So when I look for the literature available, obviously, particularly in English language, there isn't any much literature available for that language literature. So my research question, obviously there are so many unexplored areas which I have easily got up to. But when I consider the literature available and the research is done, particularly in Sindhi literature, in Sindhi language, done by the Sindhi scholars, then there is much. And then in that case, there isn't any question of doing that research. But I'm considering that research since no one has done that in English language. So like, should I be considering the researches which are...
Yes, you should consider, okay. You should consider, because some guys are doing like Prabhashankar Dwivedi is doing some research in Sanskrit. Okay, that's less likely that many papers will be published in English. Okay, so here I am talking in the largely, mostly in the social science context and from the economics perspective, because in economics we have less papers, may not be having the very less papers, good papers available in other than English. Okay, so if you look at my perspective, it is English language bias. But suppose I look from your perspective, from your discourse, the research you are doing, you definitely should look at other papers also. Okay, definitely you should look at those papers.
But sir, in this case, there is a limitation. Since like I am an English language learner and a student, like I cannot access to those available because there is huge corpus. The research is done in Sindhi language literature is something which is already at great level. So the topic, which is something very new for me in terms of English literature, English language research for the same Sindhi literature is going to be very new and unexplored, and the same is something which is very much done. But my issue is that that is not accessible for those English language scholars and non-Sindhi scholars. So my purpose is little different, but at the same time, yeah.
You have to learn the Sindhi.
Okay.
You have to learn that language. Let me tell you an example. So if I remember one professor from Harvard, so he was doing some research in Tamil Nadu when I was doing my PhD. Okay, my first year or second year of PhD, he landed in Tamil Nadu, some rural villages. That time he has given a presentation. Okay, he's from anthropology and history background. So when he landed in India, so he has given a presentation in my institute. He was speaking fluently English because he's coming from Harvard University. After 3 years, you can't imagine, he was speaking in Tamil language, he was given the entire presentation using the Tamil language. And he has done the 3 years fieldwork in Tamil Nadu. Okay. In the entire presentation, I have heard that 70 to 75% of the portion, he was using the colloquial Tamil words and colloquial Tamil language. Because the thing that he has to learn that to understand the behavior, to understand the issues which are happening in the rural Tamil Nadu people. As long as, because see, language is one type of barrier. So you have to overcome that barrier to understand that. As long as you don't overcome that barrier, because any translator, suppose you're a translator or you have an interpreter, okay, that is okay with some small research like quantitative research, collect some information. But suppose it involves a qualitative, okay, anthropological study, historical studies, sociological studies. You need to have a strong interaction with someone for a long time, okay? So then the language barrier is a bigger issue. That time, those people, even I know that guy, he has learned the language. So you got the message.
Yes, sir. I have got the message, but sir, actually in my case, the language is not the problem. Actually, I just know the language. The problem is with the script, because the researches which are already done are in Sindhi Arabic script. I'm not familiar with that. So that is problem which I have to resolve anyway. Yeah, thank you, sir.
So that's basically, there is no other way. Either see, I'll tell you that suppose you take help of someone, okay, that may not be much effective as long as you are not learning that. It will be more effective if you basically put some effort to learn that. Okay, rather than depending, you can depend on someone else first to some extent. But suppose you are decided, okay, I'll rest of my 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, I'm going to focus on this literature, then I have to do it.
Thank you, sir. It's very valuable. Thank you so much.
So then another thing, I'll just give you another example. Some people are like how people are trying to identify doing the research. See, some of you might have heard about the honor killing. Did you hear about that honor killing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So did you know that, okay, why it is happening? Did you go and ask the people who is basically killed? They'll tell, okay, we are killed because of the intercaste marriage. Okay. So intercaste marriage is happening all the castes. Okay, out of the why few caste people are just killing and others are not doing. What is happening? You ask them, okay, why it is happening and why? Suppose you ask some people that, okay, suppose your daughter or son married to other caste, when they will kill him and her. Will not get answer easily. Those cases, we basically use some kind of experiments. Okay, some kind of experiments we do basically to understand their behavior. I know some people have done some experiment in I think in Haryana and Punjab. They try to identify that, okay, what is the major issue behind that. So that basically, see, doing that, because see, where in case of literature, the honor killing, there is no literature, no studies existing. There also, you suppose in those cases also, you have to see that, okay, how we can do research. What kind of literature you have to depend. Okay, where no literature. We'll tell you, okay, honor killing is a major issue, it's a large issue, it's a social stigma. But what should I do? There is no literature. It doesn't mean that you should not do any research in that area. So I'll come back. Okay. So this is the paper I have written. So I've done a systematic review. Okay, I'll just give an example how I've done a systematic review. So basically, my idea is that, okay, as you know that climate change is an issue because of which basically the variation of temperature and the rainfall, which affects the agriculture. The farmers is largely affected by the impact of climate change. So I just want to know that, okay, there are many studies, the large number of studies which tell that, okay, the farmers in some places in Andhra Pradesh, they're adapting to, they're basically taking some strategies to basically cope with climate change. farmers in northeastern India, they're also taking some strategies to cope with climate change. Similarly, farmers in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, or Odisha, or West Bengal, even Telangana also. Okay, so my idea is that there are individual studies existing. So my idea is to know that, okay, so what are the adaptation strategies farmers are taking across India? That is my question. Yes, farmers are adapting. There are many studies. What are the adaptation strategies the farmers are adopting across India? Then my second research question was that whether there is any similarity that, okay, some particular adaptation strategies the farmers are adopting. And then third thing I want to know, because this systematic will tell you, okay, so where basically the more research are focused and where there is no evidence, where there is evidence and where there is no evidence. And then they'll tell you, okay, there are many studies published in Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, or Tamil Nadu, or the Maharashtra, but there is no studies in Jammu and Kashmir. There is no studies in some part of Nagaland, Manipur, Assam, or there are no studies in like Uttarakhand or Himachal Pradesh. So that basically by doing a systematic review, okay, so basically you'll get to know that, okay, so these are questions basically you will address. Okay, so this is the paper I have published in 2021. Okay, so basically see, I have started with an vital research question. Basically, what are the things that farmers are adopting? Okay, basically understanding farmers' adaptive behavior. Basically, what are the things farmers are taking to basically cope with the impacts of climate change? Okay, so what I've done, identify that, okay, there are many studies existing, but there is a lack or dearth of extensive review. Okay, so therefore I've started doing that research sometime in 2018 or 19, then I published in 2021. So basically we have adopted a PRISMA approach, okay, which is a standard approach, preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So first thing that you should have as I told you, you should have a research question. Okay, that research question will give you some idea to identify the keywords. That here my research question, that how Indian farmers are adapting to climate change. Okay, how Indian farmers are adapting to climate change. Okay, so given that research question, okay, so basically I have identified few keywords. Okay, the few keywords I've added because I have here used the Boolean operator. Boolean operator is and all. Okay, so the keywords I've used: the climate smart agriculture practices, coping strategies, climate change adaptation. There are many keywords. Okay, so that basically the research question will tell you that, okay, these are the keywords. So I have used those keywords, okay, to search in different databases like Web of Science, Gesture, Science Direct, EBSCO, or Sage Journal. Different databases I've searched. Okay, different databases I've searched. So apart from that different databases I searched, so what I've done again, so maybe I might have missed some of the articles. So what I've done, so I have gone through few papers, references, or bibliography. Look at that, okay, whether I've missed any important article. That's basically backward search of research paper. Basically, we just have to go through some most important papers, references, to see that, okay, some of the literature, okay, some of the most important literature we could have missed during this process. We could have, there's a possibility. Okay. So once we have done that, once we have searched the articles, okay, once we have searched, once we are doing the search of articles, we are end up with the 19,419 articles, okay, by using those keywords. So we can't review the 19,000 articles, 19,000 odd articles. We can't review them. So what we have done, so then we are basically employing an inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay, we are employing the inclusion and exclusion criteria. That's basically the second and third stage. That's basically the screening and eligibility. Okay, screening, you are screening all the articles, and then you see that, okay, eligibility means which are the articles to be included, which are to be excluded. See, this is the inclusion and exclusion criteria. So first thing, the literature type. I have included all the papers, those are empirical research or empirical papers. I've excluded all the review articles, book chapters, and conference proceedings. That's my exclusion criteria. Those papers are written in English are included. Those papers are not written in English are just excluded. And time period. Okay, that's basically I've considered that papers are published in 2001 to 18. These are published before 2018. I've just dropped. Country, because see my research question that okay, how farmers are adapting in India. So therefore, I'll focus on those articles have taken some case studies from India. Okay, if some articles have not taken any case study in India, no discussion about the India, so I just exclude them. So title and abstract, I'll look at the title, other than abstract. Okay, those are basically my idea is okay, how farmers are adapting to climate change. I'll look at the okay, within the title, some idea about okay, I'll just get a flavor that yes, this article is talking about that okay, focusing on the farmers against adaptation measures. If it is not focusing on that title and abstract, I just exclude them. Then I'll go for a full article screening. Okay, where basically look at okay whether this article is focused on the farmers adaptation behavior, otherwise just exclude them. Okay. Last one is the included studies. Let us come back to here. So initially, as I've told you that we have ended up with the 19,000 odd articles. That's basically the identification stage. We have ended up with that by searching all the articles. Then you have seen that okay, since some of the articles might have appeared 2 times or 3 times, okay, we have just excluded the duplicate. Those articles might have occurred 2 times or 3 times in the search. So we have excluded them. We end up with around 16,361 articles. So now basically we have to exclude them. Okay. Other than empirical research papers, non-English, or year before 2001, or the focus in India. While doing that, we have excluded many papers. We end up with just left with the 287 articles. Now you have to go through the title as the abstract of the 287 papers. Okay. So exclude just we have gone through. We have decided that we will exclude the papers if the following words, okay, following words is not appearing in the title as the abstract. Okay. Like, okay, whether this paper is focused on agriculture, farm level adaptation, farmers' adaptive behavior, coping strategies, climate change, extreme events. So by doing that, we have just excluded 237 papers. So I just end up with the 50 papers. Now we are going through all the papers by full text. We have gone through the full text of the 50 papers. See that, okay, whether these papers address the research question or objective, okay, that match with our objective and research question is basically we are looking for. So basically we have excluded 10 papers. So we are end up with the 40 papers. And basically within that 40 papers, we have just gone through the bibliography and citations of those 40 papers. See that, okay, whether any important papers we have just excluded. By doing that, we have added another 4 papers. So by end up with the 44 papers. Any doubt?
So initial steps, does it done automatically or automation was used or for exclusion?
No automatic, no exclusion is given. 19,000 article is automatic. You can give the exclusion that time, but we have just done with the automatic. Okay. That's why we will end up with the 19,000 article. Okay, this is the first systematic review I wrote where I've just used the automation. Okay, I'm not given any exclusion criteria, so that's why I've ended up with the 19,000. Okay, but if you use some simple exclusion criteria, you may end up with the 1,000 to 5,000, depending on the research issue. Yeah, someone raised the hand. Smita Mehta. Yeah, please. Please, Shruti Mehta. Shruti Mehta, please. In the chat, you have written anything? Shruti Mehta, please. Oh, she has removed. Any other one?
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, can you go to the previous slide, sir?
Okay.
Sir, actually, the inclusion criteria that you have selected, suppose I have selected Scopus as my search engine.
Okay.
So there I can there they have given filters where I can select the articles from 2001 to 2018.
You can do that. Yes.
Then I can select the journal articles also, literature type. So after doing this,
Yes,
you
can do
end
that. You can do that.
ended up with 25 pages or 20 pages after doing all this.
Yeah.
So like
As I told you that since I have not selected any inclusion exclusion criteria there, I end up with a 19,000 article. Suppose you choose those things, you will end up with 1,000 or 2,000 articles.
so then I want to know how many days or time you took to filter out the articles, to go through all the articles abstract. Like, is it a one-day process?
No. I think this entire work has been done by my RA Vijay Kumar, so who is also co-author in this paper. So he took literally 3 months, literally.
So every day, I'll like suppose if one person is doing, so every day he will go through one page, will see the articles.
No.
Then
See, there are softwares. Okay, there are
Okay,
some softwares. Okay, so which basically we have used, and in the
Okay.
software we put all the articles. Okay, we extract all the citations. Okay,
Okay, sir.
extracting all the citation. Once you extract the citation, automatically that software will extract all the abstracts. Okay, so it automatically identifies what are the duplicacies, because identifying all the papers appear 2 times or 3 times is difficult. Okay, on the
Yes, sir.
okay, so that software will basically exclude all the papers identified 2 times or 3 times. One.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then you know that, okay, then that software basically will use all kind of exclusion criteria. Okay, all kinds
Okay,
of inclusion criteria, you use that software. Okay, but some point of the time we have to gone through at least the title and abstract of the
Title.
400 articles. Okay, that takes some time.
Okay, sir.
To make a decision, okay, those articles I can include, or those kind of articles should be excluded, that takes some time. Okay, so that's it took him for 3 months.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone?
Sir, what is the name of the software, sir? Is it open source?
I guess it is open source. Okay, it's open source. Okay, let me. It's open source software, and it's just you can use it for maximum freely 2 months. Okay, you can use it for 2 months maximum. And give me some time because I forget the name of the software.
Sure, sir. Or maybe later through organizers also you can provide.
I can tell you the name of the software. So now I forget it. Okay. Yeah, through I can email you, or through the organizer I can tell you. If I remember in between, I can also tell you. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you also share this PPT if you can?
This is the EPPI software. Okay. It's called as EPPI Reviewer 4. Okay, EPPI Reviewer 4 software. I can put that in the chat. Okay. If someone is interested, they can write it. They can use it because this is you can use it for 2 months. I think. EPPI. No, sorry. EPPI Reviewer 4. It's a freely downloadable. You can use it. So by doing this, see what I've done, then I basically done some descriptive statistics about the papers. So what I've done, I just put the year by number of papers published. Okay, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, or 2018. Then I look at, okay, how many papers are quantitative as the qualitative, or similarly, these are the case study papers. Okay, how many papers are focused on the single state, and how many papers are focused on the more than one state. So that basically guided me also. Okay, how many papers are focused on the cross section and panel data? Panel means basically those households are surveyed more than one time. That's a panel data. or you have surveyed only one time, that's a cross-section data. Okay, how many? Also basically cross-section of panel, or how many are primary and how many are depending on the secondary sources. And then I look at, okay, how many papers from the different states. Okay, so I've identified, okay, there are many papers are published in case of Odisha, then Andhra Pradesh, and then Karnataka, Bihar, but there is no studies from the northeastern states. So that gives me that, okay, there is a less lack of evidences available in the northeastern states. That gives me the, but through the systematic review, because it's an unbiased evidence. See, then second thing I've done here, okay, so then I look at, okay, how the different studies are looking at the different kinds of adaptation measures, because I just I'll not show you much detail because it's not may not be required for you. So because there are, suppose I categorize all the adaptation into 5 categories, I look at, okay, there are many papers which focused on the first category, but there are many less of studies focusing on the 4th and 5th category. So we need some kind of research in those categories. And then I was doing that, okay, so where basically evidences exist across the states in India. Okay, so I see that, okay, how many papers are published across the states in India. So I see that, okay, there are many studies in Odisha or Andhra Pradesh, given the studies there. Other studies, less number of studies in particularly few states, which basically have identified, okay, these are the states where basically there is no studies existing. Okay, these are the papers I have studied, and then I see that, okay, what are the adaptation measures they have taken. Okay, then I was just trying to identify, okay, what are the adaptation measures are largely studied, because here I found that, okay, the water management, okay, since the water is scarce across the India or many parts of India, so water management is mostly adapted, and most of the studies are focusing on the water management. Okay, around 24 studies out of the 44 studies. So that gives me the better idea or better picture about that, okay, about the climate change adaptation research, that, okay, what is happening across the states, what are the adaptation measures that people are adopting, okay, what is things are happening. So that gives me a bigger flavor, a bigger picture about me, the adaptation research in India. So second paper I have written, which is publishing next month, because that day Moni was mentioning some books where I have a chapter there. And this is the chapter which is coming. Basically, it's another systematic review we have done. So what motivates farm level adaptation in India? Okay, there I was looking at, okay, what are the adaptation measures the people are adopting? This is basically looking at the what motivates the determinants of particular adaptation measures. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. So here we have seen that, okay, there's some studies are existing based on the past systematic review. We identified, okay, there are literature existing. Some of them quantitative, but we have no idea that, okay, what are the major determinants which basically influence, because some studies identify, okay, these factors influence farmers to adapt. Some places they look at these factors and influence farmers to adapt. But while designing the policy at the national level, so we need to know what is the common factor which basically influence farmer to adapt, and what are the things are being so far explored, and what are the factors are not being explored so far. That's also important. That gives you idea that, okay, let us do some research in that line. So by doing this, see here what we have done, we have followed the same 4 principle, and also the Boolean operator, and the keywords we have selected here. Basically, we have searched only the database Web of Science here, not other databases. Here we have selected the climate smart agriculture practices, coping strategies, climate change adaptation, farm level adaptation measures, farming community agriculture, farmer agriculture household in India. So by doing this, so what have we done? We end up with the 183 articles. Okay, so by searching the Web of Science. So record screen, there is since there is not search in the second search engine, there is no case of the double appearance or double counting. So we have just a record screening of the 183 papers. So basically, this followed the other than empirical papers published before 2001, at least one study area from India. So we have just excluded all the papers, end up with a maximum 37 papers. Okay, then we have gone through the full text or abstract of these papers and excluded around 9 papers. So we are end up with the 29 papers from the Web of Science. Then we have gone through these articles references and end up with another 6 papers basically based on the citation of these articles. So end up with the 35 papers. Then we look at, okay, the study 35 papers, so there's focus on single state or the more than one state, or then any study there's a focus on the single country or the more than one country, or then in quantitative and qualitative studies. Okay, so then we're looking at, then by doing this, we're looking at, okay, what are the determinants, the basically causal relationship between variables with the adaptation measures. We'll look at, taking the other determinants, see the each study wise. So yes, this study has considered this determinant, that study has considered this determinant, or this study has considered this determinants. So then we're looking at, okay, the frequency of considering the determinants. Then we see that, okay, there are all the studies, most of the studies are considering asset and income as a determinant. Okay, and demographic characteristics, or the education of the household head, or the agricultural livelihood. So these are the considered determinants. But like risk attitude behavior, which is the most important factor for someone to influence, or whether you want to take the risk averse or the risk lover. Okay. So those things are important, but some other studies are that less number of studies have to consider that, most studies are not. Then basically give a idea that, okay, which are the things are already studied and which are things are not explored so far, or less explored, not explored, or the less explored, or the where it is explored. Okay, any doubt?
Yeah.
Studies, yeah.
So actually, when discussing with my colleagues, like some of them were of the opinion that we should also include like a kind of semi-formal sources also. For example, these monographs or working papers, can they also be included or excluded from this SLR?
See, actually, in the systematic review literature, yes, by doing my first systematic review paper, which I've basically shown to you. So there I have a very confusion. I was wondering that, okay, why should I include my working paper? See, by looking at climate change adaptation, there are many agriculture institutions in India. Okay, and they have must have published several reports, okay, which never published in the journal article. Okay,
correct.
Several reports published, and maybe they're talking on some agriculture interventions which are good for the farmers' productivity, and there could be some report they have submitted to government. Okay, the one thing they basically point out in the systematic review, because those things are not peer reviewed. As long as it's not peer reviewed, we can't basically depend on.
Yes, but will it not lead to source bias, sir?
Of course, see, that's I told you now. There's some kind of bias involved. Okay, okay. There's some kind of bias, source bias is involved, because we are excluding them because those are not peer reviewed. Okay, we don't know that whether these findings are. We can't trust those findings whether it's correct or the wrong. Okay. And the second thing that maybe that's it. See, we are depending on the Scopus and the Web of Science. You know that many journal articles are not part of the Web of Science and Scopus. There could be some articles published, but we are the guideline tells that, okay, we can't depend on we can't include those articles because we don't know the standard reviewing methods of those articles.
Okay, so your take is only published articles, peer reviewed, should be considered, and
peer
not the
that to be part of the Web of Science or Scopus, because we just believe that okay, these articles that are published as part of the Web of Science and Scopus, they're properly.
Because if we take Google Scholar as one of the source, like Google Scholar includes sometimes even these institution articles and working papers and all that.
You see that I have not searched in the Google Scholar.
Okay. No, I'm just asking.
Yeah, definitely. You'll get, that's why I told you that Google means you will end up with the lakhs, including newspaper articles also. Okay, everything available under the sun.
And even in EBSCO, sir, if we see certain newspaper articles, some reports will be there, even if we visit EBSCO, that thing.
That's the basic, and that's why I told you that we'll consider, exclude that, but okay, we'll consider only the journal articles.
Correct. Okay.
So I agree with you that we are doing this, we're excluding some of the gray literature, which could be more important. Okay, we are excluding them.
Because when we discuss with our colleague, their logic is, for example, why SLR? Because it is a upcoming area. In the upcoming area, mostly working papers will be there, or like these kind of sources will be there. So that is how they argue with me. That is the thing. Okay.
Yeah, because
Wonderful.
the guidelines tell that we can't include them because we are not able to trust those papers. Because as long as it's not peer reviewed, okay.
Mhm.
Because okay, sometimes if you remember, I don't know how, to what extent you are following the climate change debate. Sometimes in 2007, we got a Peace Nobel Prize to the IPCC, if you remember.
Mhm.
Nobel Prize, IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Okay, basically our famous guy, the Pachuri, was heading the theory, was heading IPCC.
But later was some controversy about his data. If I'm right.
Controversy about the data, about the Himalayan gate, Himalaya. Okay, because those articles are not peer reviewed. Those are the reports. Okay, so you'll see that next the assessment report about the 2014-15, and the assessment report is already recently published last month, and one report is coming next year. So they're very careful. They have included the papers. Those are published peer reviewed. No journal article, no government reports, nothing. Okay, as long as it's not peer reviewed, they'll not include that in the assessment report.
Oh, correct.
Okay, because otherwise you'll end up with those kind of things. Okay. Any doubt?
Fine.
Sir?
Fine.
Yeah.
Sir, yeah. So in case of, okay, just for a generic inquiry, in case of thesis, we will be elaborating most of these things, but the concept remains almost the same, right, sir?
Yeah. Yeah, concept remain the same. Still, I'm not guessing what the concept you are talking.
So in the sense, the paper writing, research article or review article that you are talking about, even thesis also the same methodology we need to follow, but we'll be elaborating more, right?
Yeah, yes. You are elaborating more and you are elaborating systematically, not the randomly.
Okay. And sir, let us say multiple literature review article, you're showing many sections. So like each section, there should be a flow, right?
Yeah.
So you talk of one idea in one of the section, then you take it to the next paragraph with a different idea and so on, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So then I'll go to another literature systematic review we have done. We are yet to be published. It's under review. So here we're not talking on the climate change adaptation, but we're taking something different. The soil-based intervention. Some of you might have heard about the soil health card. Okay, recently drafted maybe in 2014 and 15, which is basically taking that program across India about the soil health card, providing the information to the farmer about their nutrition, about the soil, and providing the information about what kind of fertilizer they can use, what kind of crop they can cultivate. So now the question is that whether the soil-based intervention has lead to crop yield and economic returns, because you have different kinds of soil-based interventions. So whether it's lead to crop yield and economic returns. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Slip up. Okay. So there are many papers. Okay, there are many individual papers which basically talks about that. Okay, soil-based intervention increase the yield. That particular intervention increase the yield. That particular intervention get economic returns. Okay, economic returns basically were depending on the benefit cost ratio. So this study therefore aims to systematically the relationship between soil-based interventions, crop yield, and economic returns. So that basically were depending on the benefit cost ratio in India. So here what we have done, we have followed the same approach, the Prisma approach. Okay, so here we have done 3 types of string, the keywords to identify. So first string was to identify many journal articles as possible pertaining to the soil health card published between the 2010 to 2019 in India. That also includes the economic outcome captured through crop yield or crop productivity. And then we consider few words, okay, to select published articles only on the soil health card scheme in India and link to the economic. See, here we have the idea that, okay, they're talking about those papers we need. Those papers are talking about the soil health card or soil interventions and linked to the economic outcome, like either the return in terms of productivity or the economic return in terms of calculate the benefit cost ratio. Okay, and third, final string attempted to search articles related to India on different aspects of soil health. So by doing this, so what we have done, we have just considered keywords. Okay, the strings we have used to like these are the strings we have used to search the articles in the basically we have searched in the Web of Science, Scopus, Gesture. Even we thought, okay, let us in this case to identify few gray literature we could have missed. By doing that, we have searched in the EPW, we searched in the Indian Journal of Agricultural Economics. Okay, to see that okay whether we could have missed some of the articles that are most important. Okay, because as we know that okay some of the articles could have published in Indian Journal of Agricultural Economics or some one journal, another Indian journal called Agricultural Economics and Research Review. We searched particularly in those journals all the issues between 2010 to 19 we have searched. So there's some chart. Any question? Okay. So now basically while doing this search, okay, I selected the keywords. So then we have used the same kind of inclusion and exclusion criteria, okay, to select the articles. Okay, so while doing the search, we have ended up with the 3,725 articles. We identified since now we have searched in 3-4 search engines, we identified okay 600 articles are duplicates, basically repeatedly appeared. Then we have gone through the title and abstract of 3,100. See, so writing this literature review, I'm telling that my RA was working nearly 8 months. Okay, and we have reviewed or I have drafted the paper or the discussed and returned to him more than 20 times. Okay, to select the articles and to basically how we can draft, how we can organize the papers. Okay, so so we have worked nearly around 8 months. There's no other one except this paper. Okay, he has basically put his report for 8 months. Okay. So 3,008 articles were excluded based on the literature type. Then we basically gone through the introduction and conclusion of the 101 articles. Okay, again we have excluded 57 articles. Then we have gone through the full text training. So we have selected the 28 articles, and we have just 6 articles from the additional search and end up with the okay. So 22 papers for the final review. Okay, so 22 papers. These are the 22 papers we're looking at. See what I've done here. So different kinds of we are just by looking at the literature, we see okay what kind of interventions are available. So there are different kinds of interventions. Okay, one is the control group, that no intervention. Okay, another is farmers practice. So what farmers are basically doing. So no suggestion from the agricultural extension. Then is extension like balanced nutrient management, recommended dose for chemical fertilizer, integrated nutrient management, or integrated plant nutrient supply, or secondary and micronutrients. So different kind of interventions are there. So we have categorized them. We see that okay, each paper wise, what are they consider the 22 papers. So what are the things they basically consider, or which kind of where basically they are focused. Okay, Y means yes, no means N means no, and where basically they are focused, which state they are considered. Okay, so I identified okay the state which they are focused. So here what I've done, we just calculate the productivity and benefit cost ratio based on the treatment like C, which is the farmers practice and control, that okay there's no intervention and farmers are doing what they want. T1 is basically BNM and RDF, T2 treatment 2, INM and NPS, or the way that organic fertilizer and biofertilizer. Then we consider okay the each then we have done for the each crop wise the rice. See here we are organizing, okay, organized way that okay rice. These are the 7 papers we're talking about the rice. They have done some experiment on rice. Okay, what basically they're identifying. Okay, suppose they so identify the figures. Okay, so crop yield. Okay, so these are T1. They've taken the particular paper like day 2015. He has taken the treatment, the T1 and T2. So what is their major findings? Similarly, with respect to economic returns, crop yield is basically 1,000 kg per hectare. Economic return basically benefit cost ratio. Similarly, we have identified for each crop, maize, wheat, soybean, groundnut. For each studies, all the studies have been categorized. Okay. Similarly, sorghum, cotton, palm millet, banana, onion, sunflower, potato, apple. So other crops, what other studies are available? I'll just consider for all the crops. Okay. So this is the way basically we are doing the systematic review. So what is the meta-analysis? See, remember that meta-analysis is a part of the systematic review. Okay, meta is not like stand separate. Okay, once you have done the systematic review, okay, since what happens here, we have done the systematic review. Okay, so here we have some figures. Okay, so these figures we can take. Okay, these figures we can take, these quantitative figures we can take and do the meta-analysis. Okay, so meta-analysis is where mostly the quantitative approach for systematically combining results of previous research to arrive at conclusion about it. Okay, suppose you want to know, because it's basically a power of a treatment. Okay, suppose you want to know about that, okay, whether the Covishield is better or the Covaxin is better. You have 20 studies. So one study told that, okay, Covishield is 70% effective. Another study is telling Covishield is 30% effective. Some studies telling Covishield is 60% effective. Some studies Covishield is 80% effective. So what happens? So those informations, the 30, 70, 80, you have collected those information. Okay, by collecting those informations, now you have come up with another value. Okay, another value which tells you that, okay, by combining all the papers, okay, by combining all the research studies, how effective Covishield is. That's basically the meta-analysis. Okay, that basically we are doing in meta-analysis. So meta-analysis refers to a statistical analysis of data. Okay, data, that's basically 30, 40, 70, 80 from independent primary studies focused on the same question, that whether Covishield is better, which aims to generate a quantitative estimate of studied phenomena. For example, the effectiveness of the intervention. Okay, here quantitative means numbers, systematic means methodical, combining means we are putting together, and previous research, that's what already done. Conclusion, basically you getting a new knowledge. Okay, there's 10 papers existing. So those 10 papers are talking of okay, how effective these studies, the Covishield or Covaxin. Now we're coming up that combining all the 10 papers, we're coming up with that, okay, whether the Covishield is effective or Covaxin is effective. So meta-analysis, okay, so used to do to establish a statistical significance in studies that have conflicting results, to have a more correct and precise estimate of the effect magnitude by increasing the statistical power, because now there is a conflicting result about the Covishield and Covaxin. Sometimes if they are telling that, okay, Covishield is better for that alpha variant, or Covaxin is better for that alpha plus variant, or Covishield is better for that mu variant. Okay, so no, that Covaxin is better for that South African variant, or the UK variant, or German variant. Okay, so different kinds of studies are coming up. Different kind of things are reported in the newspaper. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now the question is, so you are now confused. You are confused, I am also confused, and everyone is confused. Okay, which one is better? Okay, there are 10 studies, 15 studies, and every day studies are coming. So in that case, we'll use a meta-analysis to see that, okay, to combining all the estimates, okay, all the estimates, all the figures they got in all the studies, to see that what is the effect of the size effect. That's basically the size effect. Okay, what is the size effect of the Covaxin as the Covishield? Okay, to examine potential region for variability and heterogeneity in the study results. To examine subgroups with individual numbers are the key statistical significance. Okay, so the final full effect estimate is the key outcome. Okay, so basically, since it's all dichotomous data, just a 0-1 data. Okay, we just calculate the odd ratio, and then basically we used to do some statistical methods. Okay, There's basically fixed event meta-analysis, assuming that effects expected from each study in the same, or we'll sometimes use the randomized effect, assuming there is heterogeneity across the study. Okay, then basically we compare them. So I'll just end up here. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, since I have another few minutes, so another 10 minutes I'm having. Okay, 10-15 minutes I'm having. So I'll not delay you to take the lunch. So please let me know.
Hello, sir. Yeah, thanks for the nice illustration, sir, and great work. Generic query, are your studies being taken up by government authorities so that it will benefit farmer community at large? Are there any efforts, sir, by the authorities to implement this so that farmers will be benefited?
No, sorry, I'm not getting your point.
Because we have come up with some data. Is it useful really being taken up by the government or some authorities so that they can implement something, intervene something?
Yeah, it's up to the government, and most often they take some of the studies. Okay, sometimes we send them. Basically, that's why we shared our publication in the social platform with basically the Twitter, tagged all government sources. Hopefully, they'll get to know that okay, there is a study when they're thinking of. And similarly, also we present our paper in different platforms where basically policymakers are there. And when I was working in Gujarat 4-5 years before, I was doing some study related to micro irrigation. You might have heard about the drip and sprinkler irrigation. Okay.
Yes.
I was doing some research related to drip and sprinkler irrigation. So once I finished the study, okay, those papers are published. Once I finished the study, basically what we have done, we're basically having a dissemination workshop. We call this as a dissemination workshop. Basically, we invited all the stakeholders from the government as well as the non-government organizations. Okay, those are basically working with the drip and sprinkler irrigation. Okay, so we invited all the stakeholders and present our findings. Okay, what basically we got the finding, and basically we have that time we have written it, that's called as a policy brief. Basically, as you know that the policy makers, okay, the bureaucrats, they might not have time to read your 30-page research paper. Okay, no one has time to read a 30-page research paper. Okay, so that time we basically write policy brief. Okay, the policy brief, because sometimes you use jargons, some economic jargons, sometimes you use the statistics. Maybe some bureaucrats may not have idea about the statistics. Okay, may not understand about the statistics. Then he'll lose the interest to read the paper. So basically, what we have done, we have basically drafted a policy brief. Okay, the policy brief is just used a simple language and very beautiful graphs, no tables. Okay, from the result and findings, no statistical results will be given there, only beautiful graphs based on the findings. Just a 2 to 3 pages, maximum 3 pages. Okay, so what we have drafted and give to the policymakers. Okay, then we leave it to policymakers whether they'll take what the message they're going to take from home and what the message they're going to implement. And as per my knowledge, there is I forgot the name of the department in Gujarat. So we have done a study for them. Earlier, they used to give when the Modi was the CM that time, not Modi, Anandiben Patel was the CM that time. So, so that study basically the secretary took it to Anandiben Patel and got a grant, 10 times higher than the grant he was getting earlier. Okay, so to the department.
Yeah, thank you. I also thank organizers for bringing such speakers. Sir, one more query. I am from engineering background. The methodology that you discussed is common for even engineering, right, sir?
Yeah, it's basically we have borrowed from the clinical research. Originally, we have borrowed from the clinical research, medicine.
Okay.
And in the medicine.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and in the previous slide, you just ran through the 2 methods. I was not very clear.
It's a statistical. Okay, how do you, because you got a data from the e-studies. Okay, so now you have to do it in statistical methods. Okay, so that's why I'm not depend on more on this, because some of you might not have aware about that. That's why I'm not depending on more on this, because it's a statistical method.
Yes, sir. We will look into this, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Anyone? Any other question? Any other? Or someone has written in the chat? As I stated earlier, I'll share all those. Anyone?
Sir, we would like to contact you in the future for any technical assistance, sir. Thank
Yes,
you,
sure.
Yeah, he has shared his email ID with all of you. You can contact.
So, Prabhas, since there is no question, can we stop here and get to lunch?
Yes, sir. We will end the session.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Chandra, thank you.